14,064. The movie Swarm Colony, Zombie Society. Question. I would like to ask a question. Recently, after coming across the movie Swarm Colony, I began to contemplate deeply on the concept of collective intelligence. In the movie, zombies are used as a metaphor to depict countless individual entities tightly connected to one another like an ant colony, where their direction and instincts impact the entire collective. In today's digital era, in particular, people's emotions and information are shared and connected in real time, leading to the incredibly rapid formation of a collective atmosphere and direction. If this connection operates around desire and anxiety, the entire society could head toward chaos and extremes. On the other hand, if humanity's collective intelligence moves toward Honggikingen, benefiting all humankind, a healthier social order could be formed. If this is the case, how much time will be needed for a healthy collective intelligence to establish itself in society after the inflection point? Also, to bring that era forward, what kind of consciousness and effort should we practice in our daily lives? Please teach us.
People try to solve everything by using a particular piece of work as a metaphor, but it is actually more reasonable to look at how we should view the zombie world right now. What phenomenon does a zombie visualize? To convey that message intensely, the story is constructed around zombies, showing how severe this becomes, how riots break out, and how difficult it becomes for ordinary people to survive. Zombies are living among us, and we need to quickly realize what defines them, and how the early stages of a zombie are being created right now. In our society, people knowing only themselves within organizational structures and excluding others is precisely how zombies are currently emerging. An organizational society turning into organizational cartels? That is a zombie. In other words, in zombie works, they visualize sucking the blood of ordinary people. When it becomes a cartel, it sucks the blood of ordinary people and keeps growing the cartel. This is the current zombie phenomenon. Because it is packaged so intensely, we keep focusing on that side while failing to see the zombies being created right now. Because we fail to see it, this work comes out, that work comes out, and it keeps appearing in this way and that way to make us see it more. Humanity is currently turning into a zombie society. We need to analyze where the basics of this zombie reside, where its origin stems from, and what will happen when it grows. We ought to block the primal cause. The zombies discussed in movies have not actually appeared in the world yet. The way zombies are appearing now is in a world where drug cartels are spreading substances to create zombies. That is why there are strong cries of war on drugs, war on drugs. It should have been stopped from the very beginning, but organizational cartels and drug cartels always hold hands and grow together. Even within government organizations, the unit entrusted with that sector always works hand in hand with drug cartels. While there are forces in the front trying to stop it, behind the scenes, they use this power to grow alongside drug cartels like mushrooms. Everything in this society, the fact that organizations are growing larger, means they are turning into zombies. You might think I am digging into this a bit excessively, but if we leave it as it is, everything will be revealed. The reason I said this year is the inflection point is because a zombie inflection point will occur. This is actually a very good question. Then, what kind of organizations have been created? There are criminal organizations, political organizations, religious organizations, and all kinds of crucial organizations in society. There is the prosecution organization, the police organization, and the government has been structured, but they have made these organizations massive. Having made them this way, society has also created an immense amount of social organizations. All of these have grown huge. When an organization is first created and small, everyone cheers and works hard together. Then it grows a bit. Because it grew, many people joined underneath. A lot of economic resources poured in, and the power to infiltrate something was built up. From this point on, problems begin to arise. And South Korea has created such a society over the past 15 to 20 years. That is why saying this year is the inflection point means that from now on, it becomes a matter of life and death. From now on, those organizations lose all conscience just to keep their own organization from collapsing. In order not to collapse, they fight for life and death, and eventually, the organizations end up overreaching. When they overreach, that overreaching leads to weed out. They become targets for removal. This kind of thing will happen this year as an inflection point. Now, what will happen to that? Leaving aside the era of quiet preparation, the years when it becomes distinct and visible are 2025, 2026, and 2027. We are currently facing an incredibly important period. Because we are facing it, We are all getting hit while panicking and wandering aimlessly. That is what is happening in South Korea right now. We need to know this so that a method for how we look at these things can finally emerge. We must not live in a world where we are deceived. Why? Because today is a knowledge society. A knowledge society is one where we must view society correctly and operate it correctly. If it does not happen that way, a rapid collapse will begin to occur from now on. Then, we will have to take the brunt of it entirely. We must raise awareness about this. What I am speaking about right now is a message being sent out. Now, when cultural works come out in society ahead of time, they take the things that are currently sprouting and express them on a large scale to create a work and warn the world. Therefore, once it becomes a large organization, there is not a single organization and not a single person that makes an effort for the sake of the people. I do not know how much I will be attacked for saying this, but even if I am attacked, all the organizations will attack me together, so I can defend against it. If some organizations do it and others do not, then I would suffer a lot of trouble here. That said, it hasn't gone far enough yet for all organizations to attack. That is why I am putting this out. The people who ought to be doing the greatest work in this society right now are the religious organizations. Where is the number one place we give our money? The fact that we work hard and push our economic wealth toward a certain place means everything else follows suit. Then, the first thing we did like this. There has never been a country in the world that rose this quickly. Then, from whom did they extract that energy? It belongs to the people. Because the people worked hard. Every time they worked hard, the state kept asking for more, give more, thereby growing only the state quickly. Next, what is the biggest thing? It is religion. Religion started with the tithe at first, and then it got to the point where it created a menu. If you only pay the tithe, a menu is not necessary. But now it has become a menu. If you look inside, there are about 30 items on the menu. Wherever there is a chance for people to gain a little bit of economic wealth, they make them pay this offering and that offering. The reason people do not go to religious institutions these days is not because their faith is lacking and they abandon their faith. No, it is because they do not have the money to pay for the items on that menu, so they do not go. Then, has a person of faith ceased to be a person of faith? Has a person who used to believe in God stopped believing in God? They still believe. However, they choose not to go to that collective. Why? Because that place constantly demands money. In fact, if the government also kept reducing taxes for the citizens, saying it lowered them down to 20% or 17%, it would become the best country to live in. But they kept raising it, and now they are demanding from 45% up to as much as 60% in high cases. When this happens, it becomes a country people no longer want to live in. Then, religious organizations also built themselves up, just like building up a government organization. Since they grew, they need a lot of money, so they have to keep collecting by demanding more and more. Originally, religion should not be grown large, and the state should not be grown large either. A grand state should refer to the people, the sovereignty of the people must be grand, and the government organization must be small. It should be a large society and a small government. It needs to be operated this way, but only the government has become bloated. Society, far from growing, has practically become shut down. Then, what happens if society ruins? If it shuts down, the sovereignty of the people disappears. Who is the owner of this country? It is the people. Yet, we are staying still while the sovereignty of the people is disappearing right now. If the people are not the owners, then this country currently has no owner. Since there is no owner, the organizational cartels are trying to operate it themselves. And why are they trying to operate it? Because the citizens pay their taxes so well. There is no nation in humanity that pays taxes as well as our people. They are a people who make an effort to pay whenever a tax is attached. If you do that to the rest of humanity, it causes an uproar. Yet, the most ironic people in humanity are the South Korean people. How on earth do they pay taxes so well? That is how it is. Whether it is direct tax or indirect tax, no matter how much is attached, they pay without a word. On top of what is paid that way, the second thing that harvests money, the one collecting a secondary tax, is religion. Religion is entirely collecting taxes from the people. They are collecting it through expedient means. Once these massive organizations that literally suck the blood of the citizens arise, all the nutrients we need to act in society end up going in there without us realizing it, making it difficult for us to function. It is like this. If I go too deep into this direction, I might be framed as a strange person. So even if I refrain from going a bit further, we must at least know this much. What is a zombie? Now, one thing we need to untangle is that organizational cartels are turning into zombies. The zombie groups that are currently using the people without their knowledge, turning all the people into slaves, and moving forward in this manner are the organizational cartels. If we look at it this way, we can study how we should touch upon, clean up, and go along with zombie organizations in the future. Who should study this? The people of South Korea should. Since it went wrong in South Korea, the South Korean people must do it. But the South Korean people are not gathered into an organization. Going about it this way, it cannot be done simply by saying, let's do this or let's do that, and thus heading toward an environment where the South Korean people have no choice but to accept it all, is the social parent of South Korean society.